Okay, let's wrap up this editing stuff. So now it's the third video. We've got our Antelope Valley Streams feature class created. There's nothing in there, right? We got to actually make the features, and we're going to use our very cool, high quality, high resolution aerial image to do so. So from here, look up at the top, um, and you'll know. Here's a good thing to point out. It says feature layer here. If I click on this, it goes to raster layer. Right, so it's a case where these little ribbons and all that. It's set up so that it's supposed to help me out as I'm working through here. Show me what I'm gonna need to work with. I actually despise this because I can't remember where anything is. I like the old static options because I just knew where to look when I wanted something. But whatever, it's supposed to be better. Okay, but that doesn't matter with this stuff. Make sure you're selected or you have Antelope Valley Streams selected and click on Edit right there. And this will bring up our different editing tools and options and all of that. And I want to create. I create features, and it has in here, depending on how many different feature classes you have, many will show up in here. Or in this case, it's just one because I just have one feature class, but I want to make sure I select on the proper one. A way to make sure that if I had, let's say, this streams one and a roads thing and railroads and all sorts of different linear feature classes to choose from, if I didn't select the right one, I might be adding streams to my roads layer and all that, right? So we want to pay attention. We want to click on that. And then we've got these different possibilities, some options to choose from. Just this basic create a line feature. And with this one, let's do this to start with, just to see. Actually, I tell you what, don't do this one because it's not the best move right here. But it would just be as simple as left clicking once. It sets this vertex right there. That's that red square. And then I can go anywhere I want, right? All around here. And it's letting me know how far I've gone, the bearing at which I'm going, all of that kind of stuff. With what we're doing here, that's not crucial because we're not following actual survey documents or any legal descriptions or things like that. We're just looking at where the creek is, where the actual drainage stuff is, and clicking. And so I'd move this along. I'd left click. It sets another vertex. I keep going. I left click. And you just kind of go like this, right? And if I got to a curve like here, I have a few possibilities. I could click a bunch of little ones close to each other. I could also use this arc segment tool. So if I come over here, I click once and it kind of, see how it's bending? I don't know how clear this is as it's going. But it helps you draw that curve without having to click every single time, right? So that's the idea. And it can be kind of a challenge to make this stuff work, but I would just keep doing this. I'd right click, I can hit finish, or I can double click. But there, I've created a line. And as I said, don't do this because there's another way we can do it. And to make sure it's clear, let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to make it a 3-point line. And I'm going to try to get a bright blue because it's water. And I'm going to deselect it using a little white box thing right there so we can see it. So that's the line I created. Looks decent for what I got here. I don't hate it. But I want to show you another way we can do this that I think is kind of cool. A nicer, easier way to do some of this stuff. But with this, that's one way. And if I liked it, I'd go ahead and hit save. I can hit the little finish thing here too before I go, as I'm, finishing up with this stuff. A few different options of ways to keep it, but I'm actually going to hit discard. Oh, yeah, you can see that. And so, like, are you sure you want to get rid of this stuff? I'm like, oh, yeah, I don't want it. Because instead, what I want to do is I want to create, but I'm going to use this little freehand tool where it's a little less clicking. I don't have right angles and all that. It's it's waterways, it's drainages, stuff like that. All right. So with this one, I can just kind of click and start drawing. Okay. Now what I want to do and what I want you to do, I should probably tell you what the plan is before we get going here. Is for this entire stretch, I want you to draw in this section of Amargosa Creek. And with that said, if we zoom in, you can see there's a lot of stuff. There are little, forks that occur here and there. There are places where it is clearly a drainage. There's other stuff where it gets kind of fuzzy. It doesn't have to be every single little gouge in the landscape, but like right here, we've got this big section and it kind of diverts this way. It looks like that might be an older little spot right there. There's this right here that forks over here. I'm going to see all that. That's what I want. I want the nuance of this thing, so I can really see what I'm dealing with here. Now, there's other stuff like up in this. This is not the creek itself. This is a little cut in the hill to deal with erosion. All right, we've got like this little mini alluvial fan action going on. There's some drainage going downhill, but this is the base right here. So don't worry about this thing up here. Look down. That's the bottom of the hillside right there. But I want all of these little things here drawn in. Okay, so what you need to do, start to the left. I guess you don't have to say, that was dumb. You don't have to do that. I'm just doing it because I'm thinking of how this thing flows. But pick an area, be systematic about it. Select this freehand option, right? And I'm just going to left click and then I'm just going to draw as I go. I'm just going to trace this stuff here, pick a line, and I'm going to go with it, right? And then I'm going to double click. Okay. Now with that, you can see that's a lot easier. I didn't have to click every single thing. I could just draw. It's a little shaky, mainly because I'm a little shaky with this stuff as I'm going through. This is a case where working with an actual mouse and not the trackpad is important. But I think this is a nice tool to have for putting this stuff, this drainage stuff together here, kind of quickly get it in, able to get all the little changes. Now, a few things. Let's go ahead and discard. So where's my edit thing? Let's discard this. And simply because I want to show what might happen as you're going along. The main point here is don't panic. If there's an issue, don't worry about it. So I'm going and oh shoot. And I kind of bump it. Good Lord. Well, okay. All right. And I double click there. Now that's not good, right? That's hideous. That's a train wreck. I got some possibilities. I mean, this one is so bad. I might want to just discard, try the whole thing over. But what you can also do is hit modify, right, and edit vertices. And when you hit that, it's going to show you the different vertices, so plural for vertex in here. And you can see it's complicated. There's a lot going on in here. And it is a case like with this one in here, I use the trackpad on the mouse to zoom in. If I push down on that little, scrolly thing, not trackpad, the little scrolly wheel thing, if I push down and hold, I've got this hand that can move it around and then I can roll in, zoom in, and so on. Okay. So with this, again, something this messy might be worth just starting over. But I can hover over any of these, and you see how the cursor changes when it looks like this, where it's like a square, arrows going off the edges. I left click and hold, and I can move it. Okay. Now with this, okay, I grabbed one of these. Here, make sure it's the green one that we've got, because what this does is it changes the curve. So we're getting into some really interesting stuff. But make sure you're grabbing the green thing, and then these little blue lines that come off. If you click and hold that, you can see it's bending that line segment right there. So you just move it to where it would work. So the green ones are the ones you move into position, and the blue things are what you need to kind of adjust all that. And you can also right click on these and hit delete vertex to get rid of it. I can move this guy over here. All right. I can go ahead and hit this little finish guy there, and I've fixed it. It's not perfect. Got some issues right there I'd want to clean up. Still got to work with that, but that's how I can mess with this stuff, right? Go back into edit, keep moving stuff along, maybe delete some of these, just because I don't need these many things here. Maybe move this one back, maybe delete that guy, go ahead and finish, see what it looks like, and keep tweaking it. Okay, so again, with something this ridiculous, might be worth just hitting discard and trying again and being extra careful with this stuff. But the point is, nothing is permanent here. So just do the best you can. And if you really screw it up, start over. All right, so I'm going to go here. I'm going to double click. I'm going to save that. Let's say that looks good. Okay, and one thing you can notice too is if I turn this off, right, very different line than what this base map has. Okay, so this is why we do this stuff. We're trying to get a more local idea of what's happening, not this big picture general scale that we're working with, but really zoomed in. What does this thing look like? All right, next thing I want to show, and actually I'm going to keep this. So I'm going to hit save my edits, just so that's there. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is create again, freehand again, right here, but I want to do it off of this line and get this thing that's going on. Okay. Now with this, actually, let's see. That'll give me the option. Let's do it this way. Okay. So instead of freehand to start with, because it's not giving me the snapping option, do this just line tool right here, that first one. When I bring the cursor over, okay, it's snapping. We've got the edge, and then you see it changes the actual shape of the little square there. And it says not edge, but vertex. So what we're going to do is we're going to snap this next line to one of these vertices here, so it's actually touching. So we don't have some big gap in between these two different lines. So I'm going to select here, and I'm going to just draw out here, get it off. Then I'm going to switch to here. Oh, can I not? You monster. Why is it no? Okay, we're cool with this. Better idea here. And this is part of the fun of editing, is figuring out exactly how to make it do what you want it to do. Let's discard that one. If I just actually, no, not discard all edits. Let's delete that one. So I'm just going to bring it close. I'm not going to stress though over this stuff. I'm just going to start drawing here. Okay. And what I could do is I could zoom out and then hold that and move it and keep going. And I'm going to finish right there. Okay. Good enough for what I'm trying to do. Okay. So that's this other segment, this little braided fork thing that's going on there. But what I want is this to attach here because, again, they're the same. So if I go to modify and I go into edit vertices, I want to click on this edge and drag it and either attach it to the edge or a vertex, whatever looks good. I'm going to do to the vertex itself, to have these two vertices touching, right, being in the same location. And I'll just let go and I'll hit this little check finish thing. And now it's attached. And it's a case where it doesn't just look attached, but it's no matter how much I zoom in, it will be touching, right? It's not just that they're close to each other, it's that they are actually attached to one another. Okay? And I can do the same thing with this stuff. Up here, I've got this little segment that I haven't gotten. So let's do another create. We'll go ahead and do this freehand thing. I'll just go ahead and get close. And I'm going to get close here. I'm not going to stress about trying to make it work. I'm just going to do this. Oh, that was bad. Double click. I modify, edit vertices. I'll zoom in a little bit. And I'm just going to have that touch, right? And then I'll come up here. And it's okay if it just touches the edge. That's fine. I'll have it right there. Same kind of deal. Hit finish. And so now it's a separate line segment from here. There are other ways we can deal with that. You can, at the very end of this, you could run a dissolve tool to get all this to just be one continuous line, whatever. Doesn't really matter for what we're doing here. What I want you to do is just play around with this stuff. And for this whole stretch of aerial photo, show me the nuance of this creek, of this drainage area here. So do your best and don't worry. I mean, I just want to see that you've done some work. I'm not going to get in and say, technically that's a little rut from a dirt bike that rode through here, not drainage. No, I'm not going to worry about that. I just want to see this complexity go through there. All right. And the other thing that we want to do, so here first, let's hit save. Okay. Oh yeah, save. Yes, please. Okay, is we also want to look at our attribute table now. And so all of this says null. And what I can do is I can double click in here and I can type the name. I could have made a domain if I got all of the different creeks and drainage names and all that stuff from the area. I could put that in a domain. That's a lot of work though. So in this case, kind of easier to just do it this way. But type, check that out, right? I got these options. So null, wherever it says that, it means no data, okay? Which is a way of saying I have no data. It's not, zero or anything like that. It's just saying no data for this specific record. Okay, so we could leave it like that if we don't have the data. But for this one, I would describe it as an ephemeral creek. So that's what we're going to select there. I'm not a hydrologist. Maybe they would poo-poo my assessment, but that's what I'm going to call it. And then down here, these are all the same, right? So you would do the same thing. You could also copy and paste, I believe, for the next time. Yeah, baby. Right there. Hit the drop down, ephemeral. So you learn these little tricks, how to speed this stuff up and all of that, right? And I'm hitting save to everything, constantly saving when I've done something great. But there, I'm making data as I go through here, right? So this is pretty cool. This is a very useful skill to have. It can be a frustrating, slow, tedious thing, but you get better at it. And frankly, this is something that I don't have to do as much anymore. So I'm not as good at it. But in the early days, when I started out working in GIS, that was a big part of my job, was just creating data sets that I could then use for whatever jobs I had to use them for, right? So there would be days It wasn't fun, but it was good, and it's worth putting in the effort. But there were days where I spent, the whole 8 hours at work just clicking and digitizing, taking this one version of some scanned image or a photograph or whatever, and clicking and creating some kind of vector data set off of it. It's tedious, right? But it's crucial and a great skill to have, and the kind of thing you start doing when you start this work, right? And then as you move up and you get promoted, you make the new people do it. And that's why I'm so rusty at it, is I haven't had to do this for a while. But your goal with this whole exercise, and what I want you to show me here. Oh, all right, perfect. Just had an idea here. What I want you to do is create a layout that shows the aerial photo and your new edited feature class through here. Okay. And go ahead, since we've used this already, go and remove these guys so we don't have that. But what you're going to turn in, once you've done all of this and you've hit save and clear your selection so we don't have the turquoise thing in here, what you're going to do is go into insert, new layout, maybe just the letter thing or whatever. And then with this, add the map frame. Again, when you're done with all this work, whenever you got, make it, zoom it in, right click, activate. You can zoom in. Just show me the good stuff is the idea. I don't need all that white space in here. But I don't even need a legend or anything along those lines. What I want is the aerial photo. I want the feature stuff that you've edited, and I want these labeled. Okay. And what I'll see is this Amargosa Creek. This thing up here that looks like a snake or whatever, that's part of the California aqueduct. And if we had the rest of the aerial images, this is one of the sections where it goes underwater. Underground for a little bit, pops out right here. But after you do the creek, also do the aqueduct, right? It's going to have a different name, and it's the California Aqueduct. This one we'd call perennial, even though it's not a real stream or whatever. It is. It might as well be right here. It's this waterway that goes through, full of water year round and all of that. So I want you to edit this in, then go ahead and turn on the labels, right? Right click, label. It should be based on the name anyway. Let's see. Oh no, it's giving, hold on, so with this, all right, hold on. Let's go back here. Layout, close activation. Let's go back to the map thing. So yeah, it's giving like the length for the label name itself. To fix that, real easy. Right click, labeling properties. And yeah, shape length. Let's just get rid of that. We want name, obviously. There. So we've got that, right? And you can get into symbol. Never want to see Tahoma or this default stuff. Make something legible. With this position stuff, you've got river placement you can use. See how it bends it? That's kind of nice. But you can also get into here these three rectangle things. Remove duplicate labels. You're welcome to remove all and just have one show up. But what I should see on that final map that you turn in is just, the Amargosa Creek, all these complex lines, a simple thing following the aqueduct, right? Have it labeled, have it clear, just have it look like this. And when you're ready, hit save, go to share, export layout, export it as a JPEG, turn it into the appropriate spot in Canvas. You follow? So it doesn't have to be anything gorgeous, pretty, or whatever. What I'm interested in seeing is that you were able to make these features. You could actually edit, right? That's the goal. And remember, one final thing here, as you're working on this stuff and you're editing and all of that, make sure hit save. If you get to a point where it's not letting you do something, quite often it's because you haven't saved your edits, right? So you're going along and you're trying to do something simple and it's just not doing it. Always check in this edit ribbon, have you saved your stuff, right? And so once you've done all that, you're good. Turn it in, and you're that much closer to being an ArcGIS pro. All right, good work, geographers. Until next time.